Hello, everybody. Imagine this. It's a Saturday in the fall. You're shoulder to shoulder with all of your football teammates, and y'all erupt from the tunnel, and the stadium just bursts out into cheers. Everybody's wearing your Nike team jersey with your number. You're all over ESPN every single night, and you're all over highlights on social media for football. What's bad about this life? I'll tell you what's bad about this life: not being paid for your achievements. I grew up an avid sports fan and a friend to many current college student athletes, and they're some of the most hardworking people I've ever met, and they do not receive any benefits for their actions. Today, I'll be talking about why college athletes should be paid by their university. Although that there is a good argument for why athletes should not be paid, I'd say the pros outweigh the cons for why athletes should be paid. College student athletes need to be paid because universities, the NCAA, and head coaches unfairly have made millions of dollars because of their unpaid and overworked athletes, and athletes won't have a future because of easy classes that keep them eligible, financial struggles with necessities, and risks of injuries. For my first point, universities, coaches, and the NCAA have millions to billions in dollars in revenue, and athletes that provide all this revenue for the university receive nothing in return for the organizations that own them. To start off, the NCAA, or the National Collegiate Athletic Association, receives billions of dollars from athletes, and they don't distribute to them at all. The NCAA is labeled as a non-profit organization, although Andrew Cyrus from the Mises Institute says that nonprofit is somewhat of a relative term. In the past 5 years, the NCAA and CBS agreed to a 14-year, $10 billion contract. And every single year, the NCAA has an income of $8 billion. That sounds like nonprofit to me. Also, according to Pew Trust, the NCAA hires lobbyists in D.C. every single year to advocate for them and why student athletes should not be paid, and they use $640,000 in pocket change for them every single year. Moving on, head coaches also make a ton of money, and all that money that they make is unnecessary. It can be distributed elsewhere. Again, Andrew Cyrus said that in 40 out of 50 of the United States, the top public employee is either a collegiate football coach or a collegiate basketball coach. The richest out of all of them is Dabo Swinney. He is the head football coach for Clemson University, and he is projected to make $93 million over the next 10 years, which is just absolutely insane. Lastly, universities profit so much from ticket revenue and team apparel, and they can't give any of that money out to athletes. According to the U.S. Department of Education, Texas A&M made the most money in 2015, $192 million. And according to Business Insider, 231 D1 schools combined made $9 billion. Okay, so I just read y'all all these statistics, and y'all are probably thinking, why is this important? Why should I care? Well, I'm here to tell you that the NCAA, the universities, and these head coaches are earning plenty of money, too much money, and all of their success is derived from these athletes. Players aren't earning a dime, and they deserve monetary rights for their hard work. If you were in their place, you would probably think the same way. Going on to my second point, the future of these athletes' health and education is at risk without a monetary incentive to play their sport. To start off, many student athletes are taking easy electives to get by in school and stay eligible, and this will hurt them in the long run. According to Vitana.com, fewer than 2% of collegiate athletes actually make it professionally. So the other 98% actually have to, go in school and excel in their course of study. And in the long run, this will hurt them if college athletes are just taking easy classes to stay eligible. Also, student athletes put in an average of D1 student athletes, put in an average of 43.3 hours of work per week just to their sport. That's more than the average American works in a work week. And that's with school and social life factored into that, and which is just absolutely crazy. And B, without financial support outside of their scholarship, athletes have trouble with, handling necessities. Shabazz Napier was the star and now is an NBA player. He was on the star of the 2014 UConn men's basketball team that ended up winning a national championship. And right when they won a national championship, he came out and said that there were nights when he went to bed starving. He was so hungry because he had no money to spend and to treat himself to eat. And he's probably one of the many athletes that actually has experienced this, and he had the chance to actually talk about that in the spotlight. Lastly, athletes who get severely injured can lose their scholarship and can have a situation where they can't play without compensation. As you may all know, Zion Williamson was played last year for Duke, and he was 19 years old, and he was the most popular athlete in the United States. He was all over ESPN for his dunks and all over social media. I was watching in his game against UNC. He hurt his ankle with Nike shoes on, and Nike lost a lot of revenue just because of that one play. And I thought to myself, this is happening to this one dude. He's one of the most popular athletes in the world, and he's throwing his life away. Like, what happens to another dude that actually gets seriously hurt? All right. Again, to summarize, these student athletes are slaves to the NCAA and the university. They have to work countless hours each day, not regarding school, and they have no future if they get injured. Shabazz Napier isn't even getting fed. There has to be a problem present, and it needs to be solved. Okay. If y'all haven't, been paying attention, y'all need to tune in right now. As a group, how can we help? How can we help these student athletes get paid? How can we make their lives better? And how can we, just fix the situation? Excuse me. Politicians in 50 states and D.C., there are politicians in 50 states and D.C. that side with my opinion. And the most effective way for 18-plus-year-olds to help the situation is just to vote. That's it. Just do your American duty and vote. You need to do your research on the politicians. Do your research on the politicians that side with our belief. And if they side with that opinion, then you could go vote for them. A small task can make a huge difference. To wrap things up, student athletes are some of the most hard-working people in the United States, and they deserve to get paid. The NCAA, the universities, and coaches are paid too much, and the future of these athletes are at risk. The rights of these athletes are limited, and if we all fulfill our American duty and vote, the situation could be taken care of by politicians, and our small task will make a huge difference. Thank you.